Rings of Power, Episode 4. Where do we start with this one? Hi, I'm William James, I'm the host of the Bald Book Geek, and we need to talk about this. Because why the hell not? The content about this show is more interesting than the show. So, where do I start? All of my links and info down below. Like, subscribe to help support this channel, and if you want exclusive content and early access to content, please consider becoming a channel member or joining my Patreon. So let's start the show. Season 2, Episode 4 of Rings of Power landed, and I have some good things to say, and I have a lot of bad things to say, but first the good. The actor playing Tom Bombadil, he was good. Like, he was working so hard and having fun, where everyone in the show looks like they're not having fun. Everyone is grimacing and set chewing. There's no sense of fun, and given the fact there are rumours that a few of the actors don't particularly like each other, that's not to be surprised. Now, I will also add the US households watched the premiere was 1.8 million, and that was the premiere. That's not the number as it went on, that's the initial numbers. There's definitely been they've lost over half their viewership at this point. These numbers are not good, and it's kind of level pegging, sometimes falling under with House of the Dragon, which is still good numbers, but for a TV show of this scale and this budget, not good. There is a reason Amazon are going to be cutting the budget for the next few seasons. They are contracted to do. I love it when people go, oh my god, a new season has been greenlit. No, that doesn't work. I also want to say, as we get into this route, there is a laziness to the writing in this show, and this episode is a prime example of it. There is a scene where Galadriel charges the orcs, and it's got all the telltale references and things to Ian McKellen in The Fellowship and so on when he fights the Balrog. And it drives me insane because this show has so many callbacks, so many lines and scenes that are derivative of other things, that it's not actually telling a particularly good story, it's just designed to bait nostalgia. And the problem with that is, people fall for nostalgia bait all the time. You see glowing reviews and all these references and how amazing they are, but no one ever talks about the actual episode. It's quite interesting looking at Twitter and Reddit. This show is just a derivative mess at this point. The writing in this episode was bad. Again, with the mystery box storytelling, that it just, I don't know. It's a J.J. Abrams thing, and he likes to do this mystery box references and all of this, and it screams of it. It feels like, this show honestly feels very generic, and this episode is prime example of a generic European-ish fantasy show. Like, and I hate comparing it to the House of the Dragon, but in terms of scale, grandeur, writing, and characterization, even if season 2 was weaker, this doesn't come close to that in terms of how it handles its characters. Everything still feels small. There is no sense of time. There is no sense of motion or distance. And it's really frustrating. One of the problems that really shines out with Galadriel, there are too many characters that just never interact like normal people. And even scenes where they just talk to each other, it's just purple poise. Each character is competing to outdo each other with flowery, floral, purple poise language that if you have read The Lord of the Rings, you would know that does exist in those books. But here it's turned up to 11. And it just seems they're trying to inject a little bit of humour into it, but it doesn't work. And then you've got Elron and Gladriel in this episode who are constantly just biting at each other. He's the boss now, and she's pissed. And you can just, like, it, and it's so obvious. And she's very smug, and there's a lot of self-satisfactory stuff going on when she heals a guy. It just... why? And I will say this, Tom Bombadil is very serious. Even though they do some nice little songs here and there, but it's just like, and I like the actor playing him. That's what I find frustrating. I love the actor playing him. I think he's one of the strongest actors I've seen in this goddamn show. But can we just say that the tone is wrong? And, a character that's not meant to really care that much. And again, scope. Like, there's no sense of scale. There are great establishing shots, and I will say this, like, the establishing shots are beautiful, but everything else feels cramped and small. Like, all the places feel like sets rather than actual places. And it's not helped by the fact that many of the costumes, and I'm quoting an article here, I saw this quote on Twitter and I don't know where it came from, but it's true. The costumes looked like costumes rather than clothing. Everything looks a bit too new and a bit shiny and a bit out of place. There's no cohesion. And clothing, and I know people bite back when I say this, clothing for characters is very important. There's a psychology behind costumes in film and TV. And everything in this show doesn't really tell a story for the characters. There are references, there are pieces, but it's too new, it's too shiny, it's too generic. And how does everyone in the Southlands know it's called Mordor? Was there like a text message or an alert? Like, what the hell? And then, and this is the thing that really annoys me, is when people say, it's just a TV show, forget Lord of the Rings, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Why don't you go and make your own fantasy epic show if you so much? You hate women, minorities, you hate babies. No, I just want a good show. You have a massive responsibility with this show, and Amazon have failed it. And it's quite funny, actually. The show it's generic, and this episode feels generic. That's the thing that gets to my thing. And everyone goes, well, you only like the Peter Jackson movies, you've never read Tolkien. I'm going to say this, I love the Peter Jackson movies. I think they're some of the greatest cinema ever created. But he compressed the timeline, he changed things, he added a few things here and there, yes, for the sake of storytelling. And you have to when you do a film or a TV show. The difference being here is that they literally they've just made something so generic, so bland, with the mystery box storytelling, constant nostalgia bait that people fawn over, and it's bred an audience of unintelligent orcs. It's just not good. At all. That's my opinion. This show is prime example of a disappointment, and at this point it would probably be cheaper for Amazon to pay out of the contract than renew it, than keep going with the next 3 series. Like, this show it just feels lifeless. Fast travel, sense of scope, all of these issues are compiled into this show in ways like all the issues with modern storytelling Oh, they've travelled thousands of miles. They look clean and shiny, and there's been a fast travel map over the screen. And all the actors spend time. They have like 3 faces and spend time chewing the scenery. And the thing is, it's a badly written show, yes, but it's not even bad in a good way at this point. Like, you can have badly written shows. But I'm going to say a controversial statement. Xena Warrior Princess is a fantastic fantasy show that knows what it's meant to be. Comedy, weird, random. This show is generic and boring and just all over the place. It's a show that has nothing to say. It's a show that has no backbone of its own and exists purely to capitalise on a beloved IP. This show is embarrassing. And Tolkien should be the starting point for every fantasy series. But this show is just... It's designed for the lowest common denominator, activists on Twitter.